everybody. Welcome to Naked Sales, where we keep our clothes on, Lisa, but we strip down sales and present the bare essentials of selling. I'm your host, Chris Miller from Miller Sales Consulting. And today my guest is Lisa Peskin, CEO of Business Development University, otherwise known as BDU. Lisa has more than 25 years experience in sales performance and management. Throughout her career, she's developed an award-winning reputation as a motivational and results-oriented sales professional. Oh, and by the way, she's won 9 President's Club awards. And after a successful career as vice president of sales for ADP, Lisa launched her own sales, training, consulting, and coaching business, Business Development University. Since then, Lisa has helped thousands of sales professionals and sales managers increase their sales through training, support, and programs designed to maximize opportunity and drive ROI. Lisa also happens to be a great friend of mine, and I'm so happy to share her energy and knowledge with you today. So welcome, Lisa.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me. I've been so excited about this. 2 sales nerds talking to one another.
I know, I love it. It's like I can bring all my sales nerds into the conversation and share them with everyone. And just so everyone that's watching live, we can see your comments. Lisa and I love to answer questions, hear your thoughts, find out where you're from. So if you just want to say hi, feel free to say hi, where you're from. If you have a question you want to ask us, drop that in the comment section. If you have a thought you want to share that too. We can see them, we'll respond to them, and we'd love to have you join the conversation with us live. So with that said, this time always goes by so fast. So Lisa, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Yeah.
I know it. So let's talk sales triage. So when I first met you, that was the first time I ever heard of sales triage when you brought it up to me. So I'm sure there are other people that are kind of like, what the heck is sales triage? Can you explain to us all what sales triage is?
Absolutely. So it's a methodology that I came up with in the mid-1990s. So I'm aging myself a little bit. But at that point, I was vice president of sales over at ADP. My job was to help my sales leaders help their direct reports maximize their performance and their potential. And I almost think that's a one-line description that sales leaders have. Well, how do you do that?
Right.
The easiest way to do it is if you could determine their triage areas. So their triage areas are what 3 areas that, if improved upon, will have the biggest impact on performance. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. But if we could figure out those 3 areas that are going to impact performance the quickest, and if all of you could think about yours as we're going through this today, that's something that could make the average performer good, the good performer great, and the great performer to be a superstar.
And that's so important because you're really drilling down on 3 areas, because as a sales leader, or even as an individual, if you're a contributor in a sales team, you might think, okay, there are all these different parts of the sales process. There are all these different tasks and activities I do throughout the day and the week. And, there's a whole bunch I need to fix, or there's things I can improve upon. But you're really saying, find 3 and pick 3 for the impact.
3 that are going to have the biggest impact on performance. So that's the key. So for those of you that are sales leaders out there and you're thinking about your direct reports, you might have already determined there is 5 to 10 areas that they need development in, whether it be product knowledge or prospecting or closing skills or going after larger opportunities. But there's nobody that could focus on 5 to 10 areas. I like to say, if I asked my husband to go to the market and get me milk, eggs, cheese, he could remember milk, eggs, cheese. But if I started adding bologna and carrots and, whatever,
Right,
then he starts needing to write it down. Or in the example of a golfer, their score's not exactly where they need it to be. And the golf pro is like, you need to switch this on your swing and keep your shoulders back and your knees and your stance. And, how many areas can we focus on? So I whittled it down to 3 because I think we can figure out a developmental plan for those 3 areas.
Yeah. That's great. I loved your example of going to the market, because you're right. Those 3 things are easy to remember. When that list gets to 20, it's a lot harder to keep track of and be accountable for both on both sides, the person doing the shopping and the person giving the directions. And again, thank you for the comments already. Feel free to jump in the conversation. It's not just between me and Lisa, it's between all of us. So share your thoughts as we go along. So Lisa, I know you've done this a lot because this is a really valuable process to do, like, before you get into the process of helping someone, because you're trying to figure out where they need the help the most, that'll have the most impact. So do you have like a story or an example of when you maybe have used this in the conversations of helping someone with their sales?
This might be the best example of triage that I've ever had. So basically, I think it was 2015. I get a call from a sales manager. He's got a 9-year rep. She doesn't know how to close business. He wanted to send her to our 2-day sales training. She was in St. Louis. We're in Philadelphia. And I'm like, well, what are you going to schlep her all the way to Philadelphia? What if this is not a training issue? Let me just talk to her for an hour. Let me see if I can figure this thing out. After an hour, it was perfectly clear. I figured it out. 1, all her next steps were loosey-goosey. So we talked about setting defined next steps. 2, she was presenting before she found out what they cared about. So we switched those steps to the sales process. And 3, whenever she was presenting her $18,000 solution, she was selling databases of physicians. Everybody was like, I'm not spending an $18,000 for a database of physicians. So I suggested no loosey-goosey next steps. Let's switch these around and let's ask 2 more questions. How many openings do you have for how many months? Because 1 opening was $100,000 of lost revenue. So if they had 2 openings for 2 months, now she's presenting an $18,000 solution in the context of a $400,000 problem. I literally worked with her for a couple months in 2015. She finished number 1 in the quarter for the first 2 quarters of 2015, hit her annual goal that August, and doubled her revenues the next year. And I was talking to Sarah and she's like, Lisa, thanks so much for helping me out. And she goes, I think you changed my life. And to be honest with you, it was 3 little tweaks. I've never met her in my life and only worked with her for a couple months. So if everybody on this today could think about what 3 areas that if you improved upon or your direct reports, then you could somehow impact your performance in a very quick amount of time.
Yeah, I love that story for so many reasons. And one piece that stands out to me is how you flipped flipped the script sort of on some of the way she worked to how she could work better, like how she was presenting the price in the sale to make it an ROI sale, where you're like, how many vacancies do they have? What's that expense what's the cost to them versus the investment to not have that challenge anymore? And this is why it's important. And that was one of my questions. You're like, why is this important? Why should people care? Because it has huge impact. So Jeannie asked a great question. Do you see a trend? Like, more often than not, are there 3 areas that come up a lot with salespeople?
Oh, yes. First one, and this is one I could almost see with most salespeople because they're winging it, is they have no well-defined game plan. They are just winging it. They need a 30, 60, 90-day game plan. So if they don't have a game plan, I know just that will impact their performance. And that gets into time management because our time is our most valuable resource. Number 2, they're not consistently filling that sales pipeline with good quality opportunities. I see that all the time. So I got to look at how they're keeping their existing clients, how they're penetrating them, and how they're getting in net new logos. And number 3, the size of the clients that they're working with. Oftentimes, I love baseball. I find people are working with singles and doubles as opposed to some kind of heavy hitter program, which is triples, home runs, and grand slams. So off the top of my head, those are 3 that I see quite often.
Yeah, that's so helpful. So everyone, I hope you wrote those down to keep in mind, to look at yourself or look at your team. These are the most common things that probably you can fix if you identify them and start working with your team or working on yourself, or as an individual, ask for help with them with these three potential roadblocks that come up a lot in sales. So hey, and thanks to everybody. There's comments coming in. Keep them coming. We love them. Kate, love that story. Brett, great to have you here. So glad that you want to be here. And now there's a question. This is a little left of center, Lisa. So I'll bring it up though. Like, Glorious wants to know, how do we find good salespeople, right? $1 million question if we have the secret sauce for that. And, it's not easy. So we need to find the right salespeople, but we might have those unicorns on our team too, which is why I think sales triage is so important, because there might be someone hiding as a low performer that could be a great performer with some help. What are your thoughts on that, Lisa? Good salespeople.
This is the largest problem out there, is finding really great salespeople, and especially finding those people that want to hunt. There's a lot of people that want to be farmers, but there's not a lot of hunters out there. So I'm going to suggest a couple things. One is, see if your current salespeople know other people like them, the ones that are successful, that they went to school with, that they're friends with. Putting together an employee referral program is often a great way to get great salespeople. Definitely got to be checking out LinkedIn and look at, who's working at some of your competitors. Some of them might not be happy. I have great recruiters that I work with. So a recruiter that specializes in salespeople is extremely important. And then the other thing is establishing a culture and, look at your organization and how you treat salespeople, because salespeople, it's the hardest position out there. And a lot of the times I find companies, they don't give them enough leeway. They don't give them the proper training and development. So find a company that, if your company is doing all that, it's going to be more attractive to a salesperson coming in.
Yeah, I can't agree more with that, Lisa. I talk a lot about, as an individual, be known for what you know. And I think as an organization that needs salespeople, you do need to be known for how you treat your salespeople. And the really good ones don't move all that often, because if they've built up a significant book of business, it's going to take a pretty big carrot to get them to move away from the work they've put in to get to where they are. And, someone who's maybe a up and comer, who's a really hot property that's learning, will have the opportunity to shop around and choose that next great organization. So you want to make sure you are that next great organization. Sales enablement is a big piece of that, because the amazing salespeople do want to continue to get better. They want to continue to grow. So make sure you, number one, are doing those things. And if you are, make sure people know about it, so that you are an attractive alternative when they're unhappy, when they're looking to, step up or make a move. That's a big part of it. It's not just all on the shoulders of the individual sales performer. There really is a lot of responsibility on sales leadership too, and the organization to make the magic happen for the sales department. Lisa and I are both very passionate about protecting and taking care of salespeople and sales teams. They're like our babies. Okay, so speaking about individual performers, okay, so let's say, Lisa, I'm a salesperson at a company. Maybe I don't have the sharpest sales manager or the sharpest sales leadership team, but I want to get better. And I know there are things that I need to improve, but I don't have that support system with a manager that's going to do this process with me. What can an individual do to try to determine where their three areas, are that if improved upon would have the most impact? What are things they could do on their own to try to learn this for themselves?
Well, that's a great question. So I've developed 2 tools that are available, and I know Chris is going to give out the information on businessdevelopmentuniversity.com under resources, under BDUtensils. One is a triage visual. And I would definitely print out that visual, because then it looks at all aspects of sales success, and you could kind of hone in on what you're doing and not doing. There's another tool also that's a salesperson analysis that really is all the information about your particular sales organization, company, and performance, that also will give you some eye-opening questions that might help you hone in. And the third thing is we offer for anybody, if they just want a 15-minute conversation to really help them hone in on some of this stuff, we're more than happy to do that as well.
Awesome. So yeah, everybody, like Lisa said, I will put the link here in the comments as soon as we get off the live show to the BDUtensils. So in that tab there on the BDU Business Development University website, there is like a plethora of sales resources. So you might be interested in the sales triage stuff that we're talking about today. Once you get in there, you might be like, holy cow, there's a lot of stuff in here that I really would like to see too. So once you get to that tab on their website, there is a ton of stuff that you can download and use in addition to the sales triage information that we're talking about. So I will put that link in there in the comments. So be sure to look for it and click through and grab everything you need once you're in there, because there is a ton of really great stuff. So Lisa, we just talked about the individual, what they could do. Now, as a sales leader, so let's say I'm a sales manager of a sales team, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. But you've probably heard, I don't want to say excuses, but these reasons, right? Why I can't do it, because I'm stuck on conference calls all day. I'm doing forecasts. I get that email that's just like, I need this by COB because someone's going in a meeting with senior level people and I've got to drop everything and provide this information. And so as a sales manager, director of sales, whatever level it is, even a business owner with a sales team, I might be like, oh yeah, this sounds great. Where do I start though? Like, what are some easy first steps to get this ball rolling so it doesn't seem so big?
All right. So that same triage visual is for a sales leader or sales individual. So I'd still print that off. But instead of printing off the individual analysis that I talked to you about, print out the sales team analysis. And that's going to give you some things that you could do as a leader of the entire team. Then, of course, you're going to want to go in and, if you can, figure out the 3 areas that you're going to work with them on. So the fact of the matter, as a sales leader, you have 5 times that you could influence the performance of your direct reports. 1, during your regularly scheduled one-on-one meetings. 2, during the team meetings. 3, in your ad hoc interactions. 4, when you go out in the field or do joint Zoom calls. And 5, when you're doing training and development. So you want to make sure that first, during your one-on-one sessions, you come to an agreement with your direct report, what areas that you're going to work on. And then you figure out a developmental plan. So for instance, if they're having trouble with prospecting, maybe you set up a time where they're going to come in, you make a call, they make a call, you make a call, they make a call. Or maybe you want to do some role playing, or maybe you want to review what they're saying, or review their objection handling document and see if they have great responses to the key objections that they hear. So we start here and then we dive deeper.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, everyone, y'all can do this virtually too, just like Lisa and I are having this conversation. So don't use that as a reason to not have these things happen. You know, it might be, oh, we're not in the office anymore, or we're not going out on the road as much to see clients because clients prefer to interact in a different way. Get it, hear it, know it. We're all living it. You can still do this stuff in a virtual manner via Zoom or Teams, whatever you use. And if you don't use them regularly, it might be time to incorporate that tool into your day-to-day so that you can make sure that you're working with these teams on these things. And I love those 5 opportunities for sales leaders. Again, this doesn't matter if you're a sales manager or maybe you're the owner of a business and you have people selling for you. So we might be just using terms, but it applies to you too. Don't get hung up on it. One-on-ones, team meetings, ad hoc, those are those random conversations, things that happen throughout the course of the day. In the field, that's going on sales calls, going out with them to see and talk to people, training and development. So those are 5 places, different areas. And I love, getting agreement in your one-on-one on what areas need to be improved upon, because then you can work on them throughout those other 4 pieces. So it's brilliant. This is why I have Lisa on. And And so keep there's more comments coming in. Keep them coming. The time always goes fast. So if there's a question you want to ask or you want to get deeper into something, throw it up in the comments. We'll hit it. So Kate shares that when you go into a meeting live, you must role play, because you can't do the sidebar conversations that we've been privy to on Zoom virtually. It's a lot different when you go live back again. It is. You do have to practice. And I always love to say, we don't want to practice on our clients, right? We don't want them to be the guinea pigs. That's why we have each other. And, all good stuff. Any other thoughts on that, Lisa?
Yeah, so you want to document everything. I think it's really critical for companies to have a playbook and to document the heck out of everything. So what do we want to make sure that a salesperson knows how to do? And you're going to see some of this in the salesperson analysis. What do they need to know? What are all their skill sets? And this is something where they could rate themselves, you could rate them, and then that's going to help you figure out triage areas. But the key with the triage areas, and I want to make sure everybody's clear with this, it's not just 3 easy areas that you could work on. It's 3 that are going to have the biggest impact on performance. So if I could increase my average size sale, there's no doubt that that could have a huge impact on my performance. If I could increase close ratio, by the way, you asked me a question earlier, what's common triage areas? If the close ratio is south of 30%, I can guarantee there's something going on with process. So we got to focus on that, because that could have a huge impact on performance. And if we get more net new prospects in the pipeline, or be able to penetrate our existing clients better. So I want everybody to think about not only areas of improvement, but ones that could impact your number, because this is a numbers game and there's components of your equation. Just look at where you could impact that equation.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because with all the different things we could do in the course of a day, it's not important to just be busy or pick 3. Oh, I picked my 3. As you pointed out, pick the 3 that are going to have the most impact. Why bother doing it if you're not going to do it for that reason? Like, that's why we're doing it. I love Joshua. He said, I already downloaded the triage analysis and it's very helpful. So Joshua's given its seal of approval.
He's already ahead of the game. And I just want to throw out one other thing before we get off. I made a little very fancy visual for all of you, but it's this, right?
High tech,
so
yeah.
Let's not focus on what we can't be doing. Let's get rid of that apostrophe T, and let's focus on what we can be doing. I know that some of you are, I can't do this, and well, there is so much we can be doing, and this is your opportunity. There's not a single thing that any of us could do about last year or last month or 2 days ago or a minute ago, but there is something we could do moving forward, and use something like this as your inspiration to go from I'm willing to do it to being committed to doing it.
I love it. I have a friend who does all those extreme races, just crazy stuff. And he has a bracelet that he made that he wears and he hands out to people. And it says, your why is greater than your excuses. And I think that's exactly what you're saying, Lisa. So as a leader, as an individual, we can all have excuses, right? So many, and it's easy today too, because there's so much hard stuff going on. But your why, your desire to be successful, to determine what you can do to get better results, has got to be greater than your excuses. So I love that Joshua just popped on to the website and downloaded that stuff right away, because to me that says yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to check it out. And so hopefully some of you others are interested in that too, as a leader or as an individual, saying all right, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go do this. So again, go to the website. I'll put the link up there. It's really easy. There's far more on that link than what we're just talking about. So, you can scroll through all kinds of great tools and information there that are extremely helpful in how to grow your sales and increase that ROI. Lisa's just come out with a workbook. This has been her passion project for years. So she's an author. You'll see that. She'll be talking about that too, where it takes you from the beginning to end, soup to nuts, on how to become better at sales. There it is, hot off the press. That's not on the website. You'll have to reach out to her for that. But that there's a lot of resources out there. And I know, because Lisa and I are both sales nerds, one of the reasons that I do this show is because there are so many resources out there. And as Lisa said, this is a hard job. It takes a skilled professional to do this job well. And I like to treat everybody as skilled professionals that I respect. And I hope others in your universe do too. And so when I know people that can help everybody out in the sales world feel better about themselves and help them with tools, resources, conversation, whatever it may be, I want to share it with y'all because I want it to be better. I know Lisa does too, because we nerd out together all the time on this stuff. Some questions about the workbook, Lisa, and yes, it is will be available for purchase. Lisa will follow up with you guys and get you all that information because it literally is just hot off the press. But we are almost at time. So Lisa, obviously, there are people that want to talk to you, find out more, maybe just follow you on LinkedIn. What is the best way for people to contact you, find out more?
Well, I'd love for you to link into me, first of all. That's the best. But also shoot me over an email or give me a call. I'd love to have a conversation with you and see if I have ideas that might be helpful for you. But it's Lisa.Peskin at businessdevelopmentu.com, Lisa.Peskin at businessdevelopmentu.com. And it's all about, if we look at ourselves as professionals, this is one of the best professions out there, business development, sales, and it's all about being the best at our profession. And just like baseball players, they've got training camp, they go back to fundamentals, whether you're new in sales or a seasoned sales reps, it's all about being the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. We could all learn. I'm trying to learn every day. I listen to podcasts, just listening to Chris. I mean, I could listen to you all day long, honestly. Because again, this is a true profession, and I hope that in the last half hour you have gotten some ideas that you could take and implement right away. But I'm going to leave with this thought. We've talked about a whole bunch of things, but half of sales success comes down to two areas. And the great thing is everybody's got control over these two areas. It's attitude and motivation. Am I willing to do what it takes to be successful? And am I committed to doing it? I could teach you how to sell, but if you're not willing and committed, that's a whole other thing. So think about that. You all have control over that. Now it's just a matter of getting your profession down.
Wow. I'm leaving it with that, Lisa, because there's no better way to leave it. You were right. So thank you so much for your time today. A half an hour that has been just chock full of information, support, and advice from you, resources, free resources, which is even better, available to all of you out there watching live or later on the replay. We're here for you. We love you. And I love you, Miss Lisa Peskin. So
I love you, Chris.
With that said, Lisa and Chris, we're out. We hope you have a stupendous selling day and week. And I'll see you again soon on the next episode of Naked Sales.